Hello from Gregory FCA Studios. I'm Cassie Oshesky, and today I'm joined by Jessica Loazo. Jess, thanks so much for joining me today.
Excited to be here.
So I know we've been back from the Social Shakeup Conference for about a week now. We've both been percolating on everything we heard during the conference. I want to know, what do you think the biggest trend coming out of the conference was?
Authenticity for sure. Consumers, especially Gen Zs, they're craving authenticity from the brands that they love. They want to feel part of them. They want to engage with them. And authenticity is something that brands definitely need to consider and take into account, whenever they're developing content that they plan to share with their consumers, whenever they're vetting partnerships or potential influencers that they're going to work with. It's something here at Gregory FCA that's top of mind for us. We're looking at the influencers to make sure that they are not buying their following, that they're engaging authentically with their users or their followers. It's just something that we want to make sure that there's nothing sketchy about them.
Yeah, I agree. Authenticity is really important in communications right now. And I think it's important for not only written communications, but for the visual aspect as well. But at the same time, I'm kind of feeling more and more like brands are kind of forgetting to really, hone their storytelling to the humans at the other end of the line. And I feel that kind of seems counter to, this focus on authenticity right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think it's partially because brands have so much access to data that they're getting wrapped up in the numbers. Mm-hmm. We can see how a blog's performing based on Google Analytics, or we can see the publishing trends of a topic from Google Trends. And don't get me wrong, data is awesome. It's a great tool to help, foster that potential story, look for the insights. But to make it really resonate and be impactful for your consumers, you really need to tie it back to the human aspect and how it's going to impact them.
Yeah, I think we and probably other communicators out there have been on the end of this where there's a desire to push, X product. Maybe because it is, or maybe it isn't selling really well. And that ask of the communications is so narrowly focused on the product that it's like almost the impact to the end user of that product is completely lost. And I really feel like the best storytelling I see is really human-centered. I think you can watch any number of the Apple iPhone commercials right now and get a good sense of what good human-centered storytelling is. My favorite one right now is actually this woman. She's in a nail salon. She's getting a pedicure. She's scrolling on her phone. She's getting text messages, and her laughter just kind of grows with each text she receives. And I think the kicker of it is, they're closing out the commercial, and it's really all about promoting encryption of iMessages.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a great example of how they're making that content relevant and resonate with their users. Apple knows that a big issue right now is privacy, and people are sharing very personal information over their text messages. So tying that back to the consumer about how it benefits them is really what's resonating with the consumer and what makes it memorable after the fact.
Yeah, I think if they were to just go hard in on that encryption message, something would be lost. And I think it's an example of what we're doing day in and day out for our clients. We're looking at the data, either from Google Analytics on their online properties or through trends in the news, and trying to engineer the best way to insert them into those conversations that's in a way that's impactful for their audience.
Yeah, definitely. So you can tie it back to news to make it timely, or you can tie it to data to make it relevant for the consumer. But what really needs to happen is that you need to know who you're trying to reach and where they're located. So some people might be better off or better reached on Instagram versus Twitter or via blog post. So you really need to know where they're hanging out, what you're trying to say to them, and how to best catch their attention.
Yeah. And I think another part of that is the content you're posting not only needs to be tailored to that audience, the message you're trying to deliver, but the platform you're delivering it on. So right now, you wouldn't want to post a video on, say, Facebook that doesn't have either closed captioning or some form of text overlay, because in reality, someone's in bed at night, their partner, their kids are asleep, they don't want to wake them up, and they're scrolling. And if they're going over a video that doesn't have any captioning, any text overlay, they might not understand it, they might scroll past. But if they can watch that video and read along with those closed captioning or the text, that's an opportunity for them to engage and learn more.
For sure. And just to add on top of that, I think that varying up the type of content that you're posting while still keeping that consistency of the cadence of your posting is just as important as, tailoring the content to each platform. Authentic engagements and followings aren't built overnight. So you need to stay at it for the long haul. And what works best is reviewing your content after the fact to see how it's performing. If it's not resonating or not doing well, try something else.
Yeah, it's the old adage of, if at first you don't succeed, try again. I think it's really important. You always have to kind of A/B test and see what's really going to resonate with the audience. But I know at the conference, we also heard more about approaches to influencer marketing and relations from a variety of brands. We also got to hear directly from influencers what works for them, what doesn't work for them, based on years of experience of them working with companies. What's the top thing you took away from those conversations?
Yeah, so a big conversation there was how to get the most out of a partnership with your influencers. And I think that the best way to do this is just by clearly communicating what your goals are, what you're looking for upfront to the influencer. Just make sure everyone's on the same page. And a great way to do this is by sharing a creative brief with them. And that creative brief can have everything from your intended message, what you want to get across to your consumers. If you have a stylistic view of what the post would look like, if you have any hashtags, anything like that. And something that I think a lot of brands miss out on is asking for the influencer's feedback on whether you think those goals are achievable. They go through this every single day. They're working with brands, they have a lot of experience, and they might have some ideas about what best is going to work for you and for what your goal is.
Yeah, definitely. And I know kind of part of that whole conversation is measurement of influencer activity and campaigns. And there's a lot of talk right now about influencer marketing being hard to measure the ROI. What tips can you share tied to that?
So I think brands, first and foremost, need to have a clear idea of what their goal is for the campaign. Once you have that idea of what the goal is, it's going to be a lot easier to identify those key measures of success. So for example, if you're marketing an event, your ROI might be how many attendance registrations that you get for that event. Or if you're looking for more visual content of your product or your brand, you might want to track how many pieces of influencer generated videos or images you receive. And then of course, sales is always a big thing with all of the executives. So you can always give an influencer a personal code that you can then track how many sales came through using that code.
Yeah. I think it's just like when we're setting up measurement for our media relations campaigns or social media campaigns with our clients. It's really hard to measure the success of any campaign if you don't set those goals at the onset of the engagement.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Well, Jess, I know we covered a lot of ground today. I'm sure there's a lot more we could talk about coming out of that conference. But I want to thank you for joining me and sharing your insights.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For more information, feel free to visit us online at gregoryfca.com.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Check out some of our other videos and click subscribe for more great content. Also, hit the bell for new video notifications so you never miss any of our tips and tricks.